sassy, a little bit crazy, a little bit classy. We got dreams and we got goals. We're just a couple of old sassholes.
We're live.
We are. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Couple of Sassholes podcast. I'm Brooklyn Maple.
And I am Heather Terry.
And once more, this is our power hour of true crime, crazy shit, and sadness mixed in with a little bit of chuckles.
And pizzazz.
Pizzazz.
And zaniness. Yes.
Oh, zany. Now
Zany.
we're zany and we're pizzazzy and all that fun stuff.
I mean, I think so.
You guys.
You guys.
It's our 75th episode. Can you imagine? Like,
No.
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It's our 75th full episode. We actually have more than that.
Yeah.
So we just consider this our 75th.
Because we stopped doing just the tips.
Yeah.
Because
We wanted the whole thing.
Yeah. You know how that goes. Most people are not satisfied by just
That's
the
right.
tips.
Spooning led to forking. And here we are at 75.
We are.
How fun.
How so long.
So many memories.
So
long. So many okay,
stories.
so people are like, have you done da-da-da? Have you done this? Have you done? I'm like, I don't remember. Like, isn't it hard to remember? Like, one of the smartest things, because you're so smart, was that you started the Excel spreadsheet many moons ago with the names of the stories that we did. Because the first one's just, like, one of them literally says weird shit news.
I think the struggle bus of it is like, it's not necessarily that I don't remember if we did an episode. It's more, I don't remember if we like recorded that. And what I mean by that is we've done so much research on different stories and then didn't do the stories. So like I've heard of a lot of things, but I haven't necessarily like done an episode on it. And I think that's where I struggle a little bit more.
Oh, yeah. And then I watch and read and listen to so many different things of this in my spare time that I get confused as to if I just hear it, etc. Either way.
Celebrate our 75th episode. I'm wearing my true crime glass of wine bed by 9 shirt.
It's super cute.
It is super cute.
I do like that.
I should be wearing it more because I true crime with a glass of wine and I'm in bed by 9.
Look at, she's so zany.
Really, I'm the zaniest.
You are. I think so. Everyone thinks so.
That's what everyone says. That's it. If I had a true crime documentary, they'd be like, Brooklyn, everyone said she was zany.
She lit up the room.
Yep, we always do.
That's right.
We have some big episodes today in order to celebrate
We
our
got some
75th.
big stories, yes. Big stories and a big episode.
Lots of big things.
Big
also,
things.
us, because we haven't worked out in days and we ate Thanksgiving. So I am big. I'm big Brooklyn.
Like Little Debbie. What is it? The Little Debbie and Big Deborah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cute.
Yeah, I thought so.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Do you want to do this?
I think that we should give the people what they want.
And what they came here for.
That's right.
They literally came here.
To listen to us just ramble to
About
each other about Nothingness
nothing
Incorporated. Thanks
at
for
all.
making it to 75, guys. Thanks.
Really,
We've
just
come a long
wanna
way.
thank you.
We still talk over each other. We still bicker. We're still here.
Yeah. Yes and yes.
Yeah.
It's also 1,000 degrees in this room.
It
So if
really
I'm
is.
naked by the end of this episode, it's because I'm fucking hot.
We're going to go to 100. She's going to be sitting over there naked, being like, this guy got stabbed.
Don't look at my boobs.
Okay.
Jeez. Okay, so do you want to go first?
Do you want to go first?
I think I want you to go first.
You want me to go first?
I think I do.
Okay.
I'm really excited about your story.
You are.
So
I
I
am
wanna
too,
hear about it.
because I vaguely remember it, and then it got overshadowed back in the day. So
I fully remember it.
all of it?
I am obsessed with every inch. Yeah, I watched every part of this.
Oh, man.
It's very exciting to have a story retold it's like Jodi Arias. Your story is one that fascinated me from the jump.
Okay. So
But I also don't remember how old I was. So I say that and I'm like, I don't remember how old I was.
I was 8.
Okay. So
So
then I guess I
you were
must
6.
have known about this later.
And a baby murderino.
Yeah. Little baby Sasshole.
Everybody's just asking about getting a Lunchable in their lunchbox, and you're like, do you think that the Menendez brothers, because that's what I'm going to talk about, did it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the answer is yes.
The answer is jizz.
Jizz.
Jizz, they did. And here we go.
Do it.
Okay. I'm running on fumes at this point.
Are
Running
you?
on them. Yeah.
I pretty much snorted a line of blow before I got here.
Without me?
I know. No, but I have had a lot of
So
caffeine.
rude.
I don't know why I'm fucking tired myself. I mean, I do. I tied one on. I was like, you know what would go good with this wine? Beer and bourbon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just all of the colors of the rainbow.
Yeah, I was like, who wants to be sloshy?
Yeah.
And I am
sloshy.
snow after it has been out 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
definitely.
drunk right now, but I
I
was
wish
at
I
home.
was, because I did Jaeger barrels. Have you ever heard of those? What a Jaeger barrel is?
No,
It's
anything with Jaeger, I literally feel like I'm going to throw up.
And root beer. And it tastes like root beer. It's so good, but it's so dangerous, which is
Yeah.
why I left the casino last night with a 27-cent voucher and a headache. So,
But what time did you leave?
I don't know, like midnight?
Me and Travis went to bed after 1 a.m. 1 a.m.
Wow.
1 a.m. And that's real late.
That's a rager for y'all.
at
Is he still
Maple
asleep?
Manor. I come home and he's asleep on the couch. Motherfucker.
Okay, let's go. Let's go.
Do
Ready? I'm going to do it. The Menendez brothers. Dun, dun, dun. My sources, Wikipedia, because duh, LA Times, the New York Post, ABC News, the to-be original documentary, Suburban Nightmare, The Menendez Brothers, and an episode of True Crime All the Time podcast.
You did so. You're like, and here's my works cited. Look at my story where I didn't cite any of where I got my
noticed
shit.
that when I printed it
I'm
out.
like,
She made it all up.
yeah. And you're like, and here's my 17 resources. And I'm going to be like, just frozen.
Just
Just
Elsa.
a silent
Silent
mic.
Elsa.
Jordan's going to text us and be like, so did you mean to stop talking for 6 minutes straight? Nope.
Okay. Now, I know there's a lot of different opinions about this story, and I'm just going to unpack the evidence, give my take, and then we can unpack it together.
Is that how our podcast works?
You know, I've started to catch on after the 75th one that I think that that's how we should do it.
Agreed.
You think?
Carry
See,
on.
This is live meetings of the COS team. Okay, now I'm going to go. Obviously, things were different back then. This case is huge and famous, and the whole world was different back there in the early 90s.
Always.
A whole new world, just like Aladdin. Okay. Jose Enrique Menendez was born in Cuba in 1944 at the age of 16 during the Cuban Revolution. His parents had to make the tough decision and just had to send him over here by himself. In 1962, he was 18 and he got a swimming scholarship at the Southern Illinois University. And it's only a few hours from here in Carbondale. So, fun facts, math and facts. While they were there, Jose met the beautiful 20-year-old Mary Louise Anderson, but she went by Kitty, which is really cute.
I love that.
I do too. They eloped after she graduated with her teaching degree, and they moved to New York City in 1966. Jose got an accounting degree from Queens College, and Kitty started teaching at an elementary school. And they were really poor when they first started out, which most young couples are.
Especially if you're came here from another country.
Yeah, no
my gosh, like what a rock star.
Yeah, no shit, right? But his family in Cuba was very prominent, and they were like huge athletes. And he was determined to live the American dream and be successful like they were. And they ingrained the love of athletics in him. Now, on July 10th, 1968, they had their first son, Joseph Lyle Menendez, who goes by Lyle. Kitty, she used to want to be...
Sorry, these guys. They're so hot.
Oh, my God.
God, the Menendez brothers. Oh, my God. Menendez all up on me.
Oh, my...
All up on me. I hate to say it, you murderers. That'd be hot. The whole reason I paid attention to when I got older was because I thought they were the hottest guys in the world.
The whole reason anybody did, yeah.
Go after it.
Yeah. Now, Kitty quit her teaching job to be a stay-at-home mom, and they moved to New Jersey. And Kitty used to want to be, like, famous actress. And so she kind of just gave up on her dreams to be a mom, which I think haunted her forever.
And probably every mom out there that wanted to be a famous actress in New York City.
And on November 27th, 1978, they had their second son, Erik Galen Menendez. Now, Jose started working for Hertz Rental and climbed to the CFO within 1 year. He was
Bananas.
an accountant at somewhere else first. And
I
then,
get that.
And then
I get that he didn't just...
switched
21-year-old busting it through there in the first year.
I mean, he's pretty young.
Yeah.
In 1980, he started working for RCA Records as the executive vice president. Now, he ended up signing some of the biggest stars in the 80s, including Duran Duran, Menudo, which had the love of my life before he came out, Ricky Martin. Then he came out and I knew I wasn't his type. And the Eurythmics. So.
God, I remember watching one of his videos whenever you and I were in Savannah and you turned it on for Power Hour. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot how many wet dreams he had provoked. And then him coming out gay was devastating. Lance Bass, not devastating.
Lance,
Ricky
I was
Martin,
like,
fucking devastating.
Yeah, I too had Tiger Beat and Teen Bop posters of him on my wall. So.
Yeah.
Dreams shattered. My American dream was shattered. Now, obviously, they're loaded now because he signed all those famous people, and he finally gets to live out his American dream. Outside looking in, everything was great, but Jose was super controlling. He told them when they did every single thing, who they were friends with, every aspect of their life, he controlled.
The kids or his wife or both?
Yes.
The family?
Mm-hmm. Everybody. The kids mainly, though, he wanted them to be perfect. In their teens, the boys went to Princeton Day School, which is very prestigious private school, which obviously I didn't go to because that word was hard for me to say. He pushed them to be athletes, of course, and they really excelled in tennis. Jose hired private tennis coaches, but he would sit in on the sessions and be super annoying because he thought he knew more than the coaches. He fired a lot of them, too. And they practiced 5 to 8 hours a day after school. Like, I took softball, like, hitting and pitching lessons, and, like, not 5 to 8 hours every single day. That's insane.
I mean, that isn't, like, what does that mean? You're done at 10 o'clock at night and then have to wake up at 6 o'clock to go to school. Mm-hmm. That is crazy.
Yeah, it paid off. They actually ended up both being nationally ranked in tennis, but that wasn't good enough because they also had to be smart and good looking and perfect.
Well, good looking, you can't really. Let's be honest here.
Like
you
clothes.
Can't. Number one, they were gonna look at. But number two, you can't really make good looking.
Did you know?
Unless you're Kylie Jenner.
Right. She's never had any work done. You be nice. She said she's never had work done.
Yeah, my tits are real. Totally. Come on.
Did you know that Jose even made Lyle wear a toupee when he started going bald? Like
what
when he
the fuck?
Yeah. Did you know that? I did not.
I did not know that.
Yeah. He made him wear a toupee. Because he had early onset balding or whatever.
How old was he?
He had to be 21 or under.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. When he was younger, he had a toupee.
Wow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And he was desperate for Lyle, the older one, to go to an Ivy League school. And Lyle was like, I don't want to do that. In 1986, Jose took a job with Carolco Pictures, and that was the same company that made the Rambo movies. And the family moved to Calabasas, California. Kitty didn't want to go. She liked where they lived. And
I'm blown away by that because he has a full fucking head of hair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Money bought him a good toupee, I guess.
No, that's not a toupee. There ain't no way that's a toupee.
Well, he used to make him wear one. He's bald now.
I know.
Yeah. Now, they moved to Calabasas, and the only reason why I know that
is a toupee. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. I understand that this is not the heavy-hitting part of the story, but I thought it was the other one, and now that I look, I'm like, okay, that could have been a toupee. Okay, everything's fine, guys.
That could have been a toupee.
Y'all take your time to look this up. I'm going to stop talking and try not to be fascinated by the hair situation.
Okay, so he moved into Calabasas. Kitty didn't want to go. She liked New Jersey. But, of course, Jose never took no for an answer, so he's like, cute, we're going to go anyway. And he took over the VHS division called Live Entertainment and then makes the company a shit ton of money. Like, they were in the red when he got hired, and then he, tripled their profits or some shit. Lyle applied to Princeton again 1 year after getting rejected, and he actually got in. And I'm sure it had nothing to do with his dad flying out there and donating $50,000 to the school.
Usually that has nothing to do with it.
No, not at all.
From what I heard.
Yeah. Well, Lyle got suspended, though, for plagiarism. He was already on academic probation, and then he got kicked out of school for plagiarism, and then Jose lost his shit because he was embarrassed.
Lyle's the youngest?
He's the older one.
Older.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Jose was really embarrassed because he liked to brag about my son goes to Princeton, even though he bought his way in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then he was like, shit. So he quickly got Lyle a job at his company, but he was a shit employee. He would show up late. He'd leave whenever. Sometimes he just wouldn't show up. He'd be like, oh, it's nice out. I'm going to go play tennis. He was being a punk-ass kid, pretty much. And in the fall of 1988, they bought a $4 million mansion in Beverly Hills, so $10 million today. So they were doing fairly well for themselves. Okay, here's the killing shit. On August 20th, 1989, Kitty and Jose, they fell asleep on their couch in the den watching a James Bond movie. And when Lyle, he was 21 at the time, and Erik was 18, they snuck in, shot their father in the back of the head, and then 3 more times. Kitty jumped up, and they shot her in the back of the leg, and then she started to try to crawl to get away. And the boys went out, reloaded the gun.
Oh, my gosh.
Came back in and shot her in the leg, chest, and then point blank in the cheek. Right before midnight, a call from Lyle, who was frantic on the phone, came into the Beverly Hills PD saying someone had shot his parents. I've heard it. Have you heard it? Mm-hmm. You can barely understand them. And when the cops arrived, it was gruesome, of course, but that didn't really happen in Beverly Hills in the 90s.
What do you mean, in a $4 million mansion?
Right? Like, he had an alarm, and they barely even said it ever because the boys would accidentally set it off, and they didn't feel like they needed it. It just came out. The boys said that they went to see Batman and had gone to a food festival in Santa Monica. They believed them, and no gunshot residue tests were given to them. When kids kill both their parents, it's called parricide, and it's very rare, which I didn't know this, that there's only 50 known cases where both parents are killed by the kids in the last 100 years.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Fun fact.
Yeah, that's math and facts. And there's a quote I heard somewhere in one of these. I didn't write down which one, but kill one parent, that's a bad seed. Kill both parents, and that's a bad family. So the question is obviously who and why. It wasn't a robbery because they were loaded. Nothing was taken. Nothing was out of place. The boys said they got home around midnight. The door was open. The front gate was open, and their parents were dead. The cops said that 14 rounds of shots were fired from the shotgun, but no shells were there, and some other gun evidence, but I don't know anything about guns, so there were something with the bullets or something.
Ballistics testing?
Not the casings, but something that goes in it in the bullet. I don't know. Anyway. On our next gun podcast episode, I'll do more research. The boys were taken into questioning separately, and Erik was sobbing so hard that they were easy on him. They showed the sergeant on one of the documentaries I watched, and he said he couldn't push him too hard because he was an 18-year-old kid who just became an orphan. So they believed him, and they were like, okay, we're going to go easy on you. Lyle wasn't as upset. He's the older one and kind of the leader. So they pushed him a little harder. And then when they asked him, he started talking about his dad's shady business dealings with the VHS. He said that, and the cops kind of thought this too in a way, that the mob could have been involved because they were huge players in the porn industry and didn't like his dad because his dad's company was buying up all the VHS companies that distributed the porn. So,
Wow.
And they thought maybe it was something gone wrong.
The American dream, man.
Right.
Leave your country, come in here, and start buying up all the fucking porn distributors.
I mean, he saw an itch, and he scratched it.
I mean.
Yeah, and then so the boys were released, and they seemed on edge, and they had like armed guards because they went back to their parents' house, and then they had armed guards that were there 24/7. But then they started to tell everybody,
like they hired the armed guards
because the mob, quote unquote.
Right.
They were scared of the mob, so they hired security.
I mean, it makes sense if you have millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. They, because obviously they were claiming their innocence, and they weren't even really being looked at the beginning. Not very hard. Yeah.
Why would you ever think them?
Yeah.
Why would you ever think them?
Yeah. Money. Like, you know,
18 and 21, right? That was their ages.
Yeah.
Hot as sin. Had everything going for him. Sexy.
So you think you're attracted to him?
I'm very attracted to them. The older one and his jawline is really something special.
See, I think the younger one's cuter.
Oh, I think the older one is more menacing. But anyway.
Menacing.
He had a great jawline.
Oh, my God.
Nothing like a sexy jaw.
Oh my God. Okay, but then the boys were like, okay, we were still freaked out. So they started booking presidential suites and staying everywhere. They would just go from 5-star hotel to 5-star hotel because they were scared of the mob. The media figured out this like wild mafia theory, and then Lyle even gave them a name, Noel Bloom. He was one of his dad's business associates, and he had ties to the mob, and he and Jose hated each other. So he had bought his VHS company, and he was with the top 5 mob families in New York City. But then they couldn't connect anything to that. So they were like, yeah, you boys are full of shit. Like, why are you even telling us to run around saying they were scared of the mob? They already thought it was crap because of the overkill and the fact that they killed Kitty too, and they shot her in the cheek. They ruled out the Colombian cartel since cocaine was huge in LA at that time. Now, Erik went to Live Entertainment, his dad's company, 2 days after his parents' murder to collect $5 million life insurance policy from them. But Jose had never gotten the physical, so the policy was incomplete. It was scheduled for the Tuesday after his murder. The company they were like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought that was important to point out because I didn't know that either. The company had taken out a key insurance policy or something like that. That was $15 million on Jose because he was a key asset policy. That's what it's called. And they were paid out. So the company got $15 million for him dying. They did not get the $5 million that they thought they were going to get.
That's sad, though.
Yeah.
That's really sad if you stop and realize what it is.
And
that's sad.
And then it actually gave them a record quarter because they added that to their bottom line.
Oh my God.
And which they're like, Jose's whole family was so mad at the company. Like, did you guys do that because you needed the money?
Right.
Yeah, because $15 million back then is way more now. So,
well, if it was a $4 million house, it's $10 million now. So that was over $30 million.
The boys did get $500,000 from a personal life insurance policy that he had. And 6 months after the murder, and the case was still cold, and the cops were getting mad. So they were like, all right, we need to start all over, go back to the beginning, because they kept running into dead ends. The boys said in their initial interview that they saw and smelled gun smoke in the house, but the cops, from the time the 911 call was made till when the cops got there, was 2 minutes. So the cops that showed up didn't see or smell smoke at all. So they were like, that's weird. Why would they even bring that up? Then they were like, well, we need to interview them again, and they kept rescheduling and being out of town, and they were just being really elusive with the cops. They weren't being very cooperative. They also hadn't asked any questions, like about the case, where they were with it, or anything. So then that bumped them up to the top of the list.
Yeah.
Because they didn't even call and be like, do you have any leads? Do you need my help? And they didn't really care. They didn't seem to care. They were being flamboyant. Like, they were spending money like ballers. They had at least these really nice condos that were right next to each other. They bought Rolexes.
So they only had $500,000 though? Or
Yes.
did they sell the house?
I don't know if they sold the house after
Because
that.
$500,000 is not going to cover any of that shit. It's going to cover an inch of it, right?
Yeah.
But if you sold a $4 million house and everything that was in it, then you have a lot of money.
Yeah, they were working on the estate, so they got that part, and then credit cards too, and they just didn't care. But here's the thing: so the boys were spending money like the cars and the Porsches. They were riding around in limos, and Lyle bought a restaurant in Princeton because he wanted to get in the restaurant industry. And then Erik wanted to be a professional tennis player, so he hired a tennis coach full-time that he played tennis 8 hours a day for that. Now, everybody says that the boys always acted like this. Anyway, that's the life that they've known.
Yeah,
it just
100%. They were millionaires.
And you can look at it in two ways because everybody grieves differently. So
distracting themselves.
Like that's what one of his aunts was like. Well, that's how he blows off steam. He blows money. And they were even riding around in limos, and they spent I think it was like $700,000 in 6 months. Like blew through that, and that's
Wow.
90s money. 3 months after the murders, though, Erik had written a screenplay with a friend named Craig Signorelli, and it was called Friends. And it was about a young boy who killed his parents to inherit all of their cash. His friend was like, oh, okay.
Okay. Pause. We're ending this podcast. Like, what the absolute fuck? Why did it's like O.J. Simpson. I didn't kill her, but if I did, here's a book on how I would have done it. Like, you guys, it's all so often people are fucking shit up by talking.
Yeah.
That is the dumbest thing of, and it was what, 6 months after? Like,
that,
not
that
even
was 3.
Oh my God.
Yeah. He and his friend Craig called the cops and told him about the screenplay, and then said that Erik had confessed to killing him with his brother.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Craig also said that in July of 1988 that he and Erik and Lyle had stolen from a friend's family safe because they got the code, and they're like, oh, they got away with it. So then they just kept going, and they'd gotten caught. And Jose had gone around to everywhere the boys had gone and given the stuff back or paid them off. And he ended up getting a plea deal for just Erik to get charged and not Lyle, because Erik was only 17 at the time. So he'd get charged as a minor. And they basically slapped him on the wrist and told him he had to go to counseling. But it did piss Jose off again, because that was his image in Calabasas, where he's got little thieves. So they moved to Beverly Hills because he was like, I got to get you out of here.
Calabasas is where the Kardashians be living.
That's the only reason why I know where that is.
Me too. And I hate myself for that. So
Yeah. So Erik, his plea deal, he had to go to get psychologically evaluated and get counseling. So he went to Dr. Jerome Oziel. Now, on March 6th, 1990, 37-year-old Judalon Rose Smith came forward and told them everything about the murders to this point that she did or had to be there. And they're like, how do you know all this shit? She said she'd been Dr. Oziel's mistress and patient, which is obviously wrong. And he had told her Erik was about to admit to killing his parents because Erik had been going to see him in therapy. And he's like, I think he's going to admit it.
Okay, that doctor should be fired.
Yeah,
he is not allowed to do anything of what he did.
Yeah.
A mistress
Yeah.
that was a patient that then he confided in his patients' lives.
Yeah.
Oh.
And he used to let her sit outside sometimes and listen to his sessions. So he asked her to sit outside his office and listen. And she was there when the confession happened. Nope. I didn't know that either. So, and during that.
So apparently there is shit I did not know about.
Yeah.
And I need to look her up.
Yeah. During that session, when Erik confessed, Lyle comes in and gets pissed. Like, they called Lyle and said, come down here. And he came in there and he got pissed because he realized, you just told. He got pissed at Erik and he's like, we're going to have to kill everybody who knows. He looked at the doctor. He's like, I will kill you. And then the doctor calms him down and he's like, look, it's client, what is it? Patient privilege or confidentiality. Yeah. He said, I can't tell him that. Little did he know, though, that when he threatened the doctor's life was in danger. So in California law back then, that allows him to tell.
Yeah.
Because he threatened him.
Yeah.
And he thought it. So he started recording their sessions. The brothers kept going to him because he earned their trust back. And he was like, I won't tell. I can't.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Oh, he looks like a motherfucking cuntwad.
He does.
The doctor, what is it?
Oziel.
Look him up. He looks like he definitely likes a finger in the butt.
A thumb. A big toe.
Yeah. Like he's two finger stinking.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. And so he started recording the sessions, and the cops finally have the evidence that's more than circumstantial because they were just trying to figure out how they could actually pinpoint it. They go get a warrant for Dr. Oziel's office, and they get 17 tapes from the boys. On March 8th, 1990, the boys were arrested, and the media goes batshit again. Two hot guys kill their parents, and then they're out blowing money. So, obviously the media's going to eat that up, right? They weren't sure if they could use the doctor's tapes in the trial, but they found a sale the week of the murders, 2 days before. A shotgun was purchased in San Diego by Lyle's old roommate from Princeton. March 26, 1990, they were charged with first-degree murder and faced the death penalty. The tapes were ruled by the California Supreme Court that they could not be used, but the prosecutors were allowed to enter Dr. Oziel's notes as evidence. It went all the way up to the top.
Wow.
So, in July of 1993, the trial finally began, and the boys came in. Have you seen coverage of this? You have, right?
I have, but it's been a minute.
They looked very cocky, very proud. Obviously, they looked dapper.
Yeah, they do be looking. Mona.
But they looked like they were getting a divorce, and they were excited. That's how they walked in, looking into the courtroom. The defense team announced that they'd killed them, of course, but it was in self-defense after years of mental, physical, and sexual abuse. One of the forensic psychologists said that battered child syndrome means a constant state of fight or flight. And so kids are more likely to kill their abuser when their guard is down. So, sleeping on the couch watching James Bond. They snapped and ran out of options and just wanted to be free. But one question is, why did they kill their mom?
If she knew and wasn't doing anything about it.
Yeah. Was it to get their inheritance without her being in the way, though? Because you could look at it on both ways. They knew that if the mom was there, they wouldn't get it. People said that Kitty was obsessed with Jose and saw the boys as a barrier between her and her husband. And she had even told the boys multiple times that she didn't even want to be a mom. Never hugged, never I loved you. I
need to look them up.
There were alcohol and substance abuse issues in the home. She tended to turn a blind eye to everything. So, at dinner, they would call them Jeopardy dinners, and he would just quiz them for hours just about school stuff and life and current events. And she'd just sit there and watch him do it, and he'd get mad if they got it wrong. And she also she OD'd, I think, once or twice too, trying to kill herself. A lot of mental health, a lot of issues in the story.
Sounds like it.
And in the summer of 1976, Diane Vander Molen, I think is her last name, is a cousin of Erik and Lyle. She went to stay with them for the summer and said Lyle told her that their dad was sexually abusing him. And when she told her aunt, she said he was lying and sent Lyle to his room and punished him, and then nothing was done. The judge actually gave in, though, and allowed Court TV to live broadcast the entire trial, and it was one of their biggest trials to date, which changes everything if you think about it, because if you know you're being watched like that, you can act a different way. Or like,
well, number one, if you're in court for your life, you're going to act whatever is the appropriate way, you would think, to get off in whatever way.
Yeah, you'd think, but they were like smirking, and it gave them it made him look really guilty if you look back at the...
I know, but we also saw that I read a book one time where like the boy was being accused of murder when he was 16 for killing his family. He didn't do it, but he didn't know how to act because he was so young. And so he tried to be a little more flippant. Yeah. And he thought it was making him look not guilty.
Yeah.
Acting normal. Mm-hmm. But it made him look guiltier to the jury.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe they were being themselves, trying to be like...
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Showing like a human perspective, but I also don't know shit about fuck.
And the boys were tried simultaneously, but they had separate juries, which it doesn't happen very often. The prosecution obviously focused on the money motive, and they didn't want the rules and just wanted the cash. Their behavior after the murders didn't help them much either, since they were banshees, even though that's how they always acted. It looked outside looking in, it looked like they just...
If they've never held back on money, like, I wouldn't know what to do if it was like normal business for me to be like toting myself around in a limo. Why would I think to stop?
Yeah, that's how they were raised.
I've done this my whole life. Yeah. Like, why would I now drive a car?
They bought the nice cars and then didn't drive them. They rode around in limos. Yeah, like I said, they were little rich kids, but it still didn't look good. So they also said they hated their dad, and a friend testified that they were going to take them off the wheel. And so one of Kitty's friends was at her house, and she had said, "I'm not leaving them shit." And the friend was like, "Lyle's down the hall," and she goes, "I don't care. They already know." That didn't look good either as to why they killed her mom.
I mean,
because she hadn't done it yet.
At the end of the day, though, like, let's all just take a moment and realize that Lyle and Erik did not make the money. It is not their money. It is their parents' money.
Yeah.
They do whatever the fuck they want with their money. And at the end of the day, little fucking kitty, it's not your money either, bitch. You weren't working. You were married to the money. So it's not your money to even say you're leaving to or not, because not one fucking penny of it is yours, cunt. It's your husband's. It's his money.
You're so right. Preach
so
that.
At the end of the day...
Yeah.
When I die, it is what the fuck I want to do with my money.
You are right.
Like no one else's.
That's right. Give it all to me. Sorry, Trevor.
Just saying.
Yeah. And obviously to get a conviction, the prosecutors had to show that it was premeditated. They bought the gun 2 days before. Did you just put a Santa hat on?
I did.
'Tis the season.
Fa la 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 la.
Now, the boys actually took the stand and told how they did it. Erik said he had little memory of it, and then Lyle went through details, and they both were very compelling if you go back and watch it.
I need to go back and watch it.
Mm-hmm. The defense was also like, yeah, they did it, but here's why they did it. Both Erik and Lyle went into great detail about the abuse. I'm not going to go into all the abuse. There's a lot of, they go into detail. Let's just say
What is it, just sexual abuse? Is that what
from their dad. Yeah, like 2 to 3 times a week, staying up at night, not knowing if he was going to come in the room. One of the quotes, and I will say this, so if you don't want to hear it, skip ahead, but one of the family members testified that he was looking for lemons, and he said it was to get the taste of semen out of his mouth. Erik.
Oh, man.
So it's pretty rough.
That's terrible.
And I'll talk about it in a minute, but think about the time period where a lot of men didn't come forward saying that.
Of course. And why would you? Mm-hmm. How could not why would you? I'm going to be honest. If I was sexually assaulted now, I would struggle coming forward.
You would?
100%. 100%. Because you're going to be put under a microscope and you're going to be annihilated. And that's a woman culture of being sexually assaulted by a man in that environment where that happens every fucking day. Yeah. But a man trying to talk about, I couldn't even fathom.
Yeah. But yeah, so they went into great detail and they had to do this too on TV. So not just in the courtroom and all that stuff. Even the court transcriber was crying. The jury was crying. Like the lady that was sitting there trying to type the notes was sobbing. And watching the videos, the boys definitely appeared that they'd been through hell and back when you look, because I watched some
remember
of it.
thinking that.
And I'm like,
I remember thinking it happened.
yeah.
I do remember that. I
Yeah.
remember believing that they were abused.
Yeah.
But I also remember believing they did it for the money too.
Yeah. But the prosecution was like, okay, yeah, but you guys are liars. You're actors. You've been lying the whole time. So they said that they've always been liars and manipulators their whole life. So they kind of try to paint them like that. And then the boys agreed to allow a portion of their counseling sessions in, and it had no smoking gun. They, like the tapes that they had.
I want to pause. Sorry. So they say that they were liars and manipulators the whole time. With the prosecution, I understand their job is to prosecute, but don't you think they were forced to be liars and manipulators because they were sexually assaulted and had to act like every day it was fine?
Yeah, it's fight or flight. Like
they were forced
the whole
to be.
time.
Man.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's good that we're talking about this again, because it's a different mindset than it was, 33 years ago.
When I was a 6-year-old, giving hard thoughts on true crime.
Yeah, that's right. And so they allowed some of the tapes to come into the courtroom for evidence, but it didn't have a smoking gun. They said they'd killed their mom but on the recording you can hear them say because they knew she couldn't live without her dad, because she was so obsessed with him that they were like, she's not going to be able to go on without him, is what they said.
Well, so they did it for her.
Yeah, without giving her a choice.
Right.
Yeah. On December 8th, 1993, closing arguments are given, and the judge is like, okay, you guys have these options: first-degree murder, second-degree murder, voluntary manslaughter, and involuntary manslaughter, because he didn't think there was enough to even consider self-defense after he heard everything. On December 15th, 1993, the jury of Erik announced that they were deadlocked and a mistrial was declared. 2 weeks later, Lyle's jury announced the same thing, and he also got a mistrial. Now, the women, it's funny that you said you believe that happened, because I, too, believe that it happened. The women believed him, but the men didn't.
Of course they didn't.
Yeah, on both juries.
Of course they didn't.
Yeah. And, like, the
Fuck them. You know what? Ooh.
Yeah.
Fuck them. That pisses me off, too, because at the end of the day, that couldn't be the case, because you're so closed-minded that you wouldn't think that would happen.
Yep.
And you couldn't stop to realize what it would be like to have your dad's dick in your mouth.
Right? Oof.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
Like, how could they have not stopped to think about that?
Yeah.
And to think about those kids and what they went through.
Yeah.
And to think that they would, it's just easier to lie about it.
Yeah.
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 You could tell, I will say, like with Jodi Arias's trial, it was so apparent that, yes, they had a degradation kind of little toxic sexual kink thing going on there.
Yeah.
But you could tell that none of that was true.
Oh, yeah.
She said it. None of it was true. You didn't believe a word of it.
It didn't make sense. This makes sense.
That's what I'm saying.
Makes total sense.
My golly gee willikers.
And because sexual abuse wasn't discussed back then, especially with men.
Yep.
They barely talked about it. Now, the DA's office is like, oh, fucking A. So they immediately tried them again. Cameras weren't allowed in on the second one. And the judge said they're getting one jury this time. O.J. Simpson's trial was going on at the same time. So it lost a lot of popularity, and a lot of people shifted to the O.J. trial at this instead of the second round.
Why? Was that one special?
Yeah. Have you heard OJ?
Orange juice.
Orange juice, yes.
Juice?
Orange juice Simpson. That's
I
right.
like it freshly squeezed with some pulp.
Ew. Pulp? Ugh.
I'm not even responding to that behavior over pulp.
Okay. The judge also said they can't claim self-defense because of Kitty. He also said that they couldn't call any character witnesses or anything like that, and they couldn't even talk about anything that wasn't a week before the murder in the second trial. So, obviously,
you're setting them up to get...
I don't know what happened.
Setting them up.
It's the same judge. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but, like, he literally was like, I'm going to change everything, and he did.
I guess at the end of the day, he didn't have to blow his parents' brains out.
Yeah.
Like, that happens. It's terrible.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. It's a horrific thing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, you didn't have to kill them.
That's what the sergeant said that investigated. He was like, they were 18. They could have left. They could have told somebody. He's like, I understand it was a different time, but they could have handled it. Yeah.
And they didn't listen. Yeah. But they also could have just left.
They could have handled it way
and they
differently.
Could have dealt with, I think a portion of it too was that I understand that their dad controlled them, and he's going to control them if he's paying for your stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously they probably didn't want to live their life not having money.
Yeah.
Oh,
they
I
were
grew
used
up
to
a
it.
millionaire and now I don't get to be one anymore.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah, no. And apparently when Lyle went off to school and then he came back, him and Erik, that's when they figured out both of them were had been abused. Like, I don't think that they knew about it until they were older, which was
Well, yeah.
shortly
How would you
before-
tell your
shortly-
little brother or
right.
your older brother?
Yeah, shortly
Like,
before.
hey, I'm just curious. Does dad do this weird shit to you, or is it just me?
Right? I know. And after 16 hours, both boys got life in prison without the possibility of parole. Now, I didn't know this. In 2020, Court TV re-released the whole trial online, and COVID, nobody had anything to do.
Yeah.
So people rewatched it. But you got to think about it, it's like people in their teens and early 20s who weren't even alive at the time that were watching this, and TikTok and social media blew up, like people campaigning for them to get a new trial because they rewatched it and it's a new point of view, and it's people like you and I that are sitting here saying there was abuse happening and it was not regarded or talked about or anything. And they gained tons of popularity, and if the trial happened today, I honestly think it would have a different outcome.
I do too.
100%.
I do too.
Yeah. They, like, all the trauma and abuse and everything. I don't know. In May of this year, they were petitioning to get a new trial, and they submitted it to get a new trial. A former Menudo band member, Roy Rosselló, I hope I'm saying that right, said he came forward and said he was molested and drugged and molested by Jose when he was either 13 or 14
Oh my gosh.
at their house.
Oh my gosh.
So the boys were like, he said it. So we tried to tell you.
Yeah.
And and he came forward and said that bravely because, you know, and the judge hasn't ruled on that yet, but I have a feeling that we're going to hear from him again. They've been in prison now for 33 years.
Yeah, they should.
I feel like
be out.
People died. That's sad, but they paid their dues. I don't know.
It's sad. I guess no one was like, "Hey, we really miss Kitty." And
you know what one of
like no one
Jose's
said it.
coworkers said?
What?
He was gleeful that he died, and he was surprised that no one had killed him before. Apparently, everyone that worked with him hated him almost.
Well, it sounds like it. If he's that controlling at home, he probably was a complete cunt wad at work.
Yeah, God, I couldn't imagine. And both boys were married in prison.
What?
Lyle got caught cheating.
What?
So he got divorced and he is now remarried.
What?
Yeah. He got
How?
caught cheating from prison
With
another pen pal, I guess. I don't know.
I was like,
And I think
or
he married
like,
that one. I don't know. And then
what?
yeah,
I am struggling.
you're more shocked about the toupee and that they have laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So pause real quick. There are several documentaries about this, obviously, that I wanted to watch. One of them I'm going to watch because Erik I think he's cute. And that's him telling his side of the story.
Wow.
Because have you seen that one where Erik, I don't remember what it's
No.
called. I want to watch that one. But even Kitty's own sister said that her sister had to have known it happened, like this was happening the whole time, and just let it happen. Her own sister said that. So that is the story of the Menendez brothers and the death of Jose and Kitty Menendez.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Whoa.
Whoa.
Wowza.
That's pretty zany.
Was a lot.
I know.
That was definitely new perspective on it for me because I do remember following media and it really did seem like it was more focused on their inheritance.
Yeah.
Of course it was because that's all anyone knew until the trial, right? And then they find out afterwards and it becomes more than that. But it definitely, and this is my own memory. It's my own recollection of life events later on, but I always felt like it seemed so secondary and it was an excuse, you know, just...
Yeah.
Here's a way to try to get out because that's what the defense team is supposed to do versus I didn't remember any of the like true terror that they probably.
Yeah, I didn't either. I just remember.
I was like, oh, it must be hard for you guys to be rich and good looking and you had a dad that wanted you guys to be elite.
Yeah.
You whiny motherfuckers.
That's kind of how they got painted for sure. Yeah. So
versus
anyway.
all that other stuff. Great job.
Thanks.
It's
Are you
a bummer.
ready? Are you ready to rage?
I am ready to rage. Let me try to pull my fucking works cited out of my asshole. I know that it was allthat'sinteresting.com, NBC, Wikipedia, some other stuff, guys and gals. But I know those were my main ones, NBC, Wikipedia, and All That's Interesting.
Sounds great.
And then I did a lot of Googling on other things afterwards. But let's taco about it. I'm going to talk today about Adam Walsh. Do you happen to remember or know anything about this storyline?
I don't remember a lot about it.
But you know John Walsh.
Yes.
Okay. So everyone who doesn't, yes, John Walsh is from America's Most Wanted.
Yes.
And it was his son that was murdered that got him into that. And this is going to be one of those that, like, while I was doing the research, I was like, I hate so much that a young boy was killed.
Yeah.
But so much changed because of the death of Adam Walsh that I'll talk about it at the end, but it's really a mind-blowing kind of experience. It's almost like... for everyone that's going to hate me for saying it, we lost one to save thousands.
This is definitely a silver lining story.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. There's a lot that came out of it that hopefully will I mean, it changed so much. Anyway.
Yeah.
So let's go on to it. On the afternoon of July 27th, 1981, 6-year-old Adam Walsh was enjoying some time at the Hollywood Mall with his mama bear, Reve Drew. It's R-E-V-E with one of those little dashy wads on top, so I'm going to call her Reve.
Dashy what?
Reve.
Mrs. Walsh.
Well, Reve Drew in Hollywood, Florida. They went to Sears. For anyone that doesn't know what Sears is, it was a store that was very similar to, what's that other one that shut down? Kmart. But anyway, they went to Sears, entering through the north entrance. Reve, I'm going to do Reve, not Reve, because Reve feels like I'm going to Reve that engine. So I'm going to do
quit.
Reve. She wanted to find some information. Oh, that one got her. We lost Heather. Got it. 2 sentences it.
God, you know I'm a slut for a pun.
I know.
I'm going to rev that engine. Shut the fuck up.
So
Okay,
she wanted to find out some more information about a lamp that was on sale. And so she left Adam at a kiosk with Atari 2600 video games that were on display. There were several other boys that were also taking turns playing them. She finished up her lamp inquisition, if you will, around 12:15 p.m. And she returns to find that Adam and the other boys have disappeared. She was only gone for about 10 minutes.
Oh, gosh.
Also noting, this was like a few aisles over in a store.
Yeah. It's
so,
she didn't leave him like there and go run an errand.
Right.
Yeah.
I just want to say she did not leave the store. It was just a few aisles over. Shocked, she starts asking around and she finds a store manager. And that person informs her that a scuffle had broken out over whose turn it was at the kiosk. And a security guard demanded that the boys leave the store. The security guard had asked the older boys if their parents were present, and they said they were not. Adam's parents later confirmed that their son had, like, obviously been too shy to speak to the security guard, who just presumed that he was with the other boys and made them leave by the same door which the boys had entered, which was the Sears West entrance.
Oh, no.
So when we were doing this, like, this made me think of the Macy's at Eastland Mall in Evansville that we were just at for Black Friday shopping. And it makes me think, We've now done it so many times that we go into one specific entrance knowing that there's 4 different entrances to that store specifically. And that you have to remember by what's the shit that's like, we're in the women's department whenever we walk out to our car, and just how confusing it can be as an adult not paying attention to even know where the fuck you parked your car, let alone a 6-year-old boy. And I can't believe that this fucking security guard kicked out a 6-year-old boy.
Right.
And forced him to leave a store.
That's insane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So at the end of the day, the person who failed is that fucking security guard. It blows me away. I'm scared for this little boy. He's teeny tiny. He's kicked out of a store. He through a different entrance. Doesn't know where his mom is.
How terrifying.
I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah.
And now he's out through a different exit that doesn't even look familiar to him, if it ever even did in the first place, because he was 6 and probably holding his mom's hand and not paying any attention.
Yeah. I don't even pay attention when I go in places.
Right. That's literally what I thought about.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even pay attention.
No.
My God. His parents believe that after the other boys dispersed, he was left alone outside the store in an exit that he didn't know.
Oh, God.
Which is so fucking sad. Meanwhile, his mom is freaking out and they're paging him in the toy department. And Reve had him paged all over the public address system and continued to look for him throughout the store. As a reference to, I read that the toy section, as I mentioned, was just a few aisles over. And so it wasn't even further. By coincidence, she bumps into her mother-in-law, Jean, who was at the mall.
Oh, wow.
And she's helping him look. After 90 minutes of searching and paging and trying to find him, Reve calls the Hollywood Police Department apartment at 1:55 p.m.
Oh, God.
At the end of the day, because of like, we're going to get to this story on what really happens, but the odds of that boy, like this, the things that had to take place, the butterfly effect of this is that that little boy just happened to be pushed outside of that door within a 10-minute window of a serial killer driving by that mall.
That's
the odds.
Yeah.
The fucking odds.
Right.
The fucking odds.
Yeah.
It's unreal to me.
Yeah.
It's unreal to me. So Reve and her husband, John, immediately launched a search for their missing son after contacting local authorities. Sadly, their searches came up empty and Adam had just disappeared without a trace.
How terrifying for those
my God.
parents, especially
Sickening.
the mom. Like,
sickening. That was the only kid they had at the time, too. Afterwards, they ended up having 3 other children.
They did?
Yeah. Who were gorgeous. Oh, my God. Gorgeous kids.
John Walsh is pretty cute.
You ain't lying. And Reve was really pretty too. I was trying to make a joke and then it didn't work. So I was like, "Rrr."
She revs her engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So then on August 10th, 1981, 2 fishermen discovered Adam's head in a drainage canal in Vero Beach, Florida, more than 130 miles from Hollywood. I was saying like how terrible it must have been. And so he also wrote a book, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But in the book, the fisherman who found him thought it was like a life-size kid's doll.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So, my God. So my heart is out for them who found him. They also talk in the very beginning of the book about they couldn't go see his head. They end up having a close family friend do it.
Like they couldn't like emotionally handle it.
Could not handle it, especially noting that it was just a head.
God, right?
And that the friend that went, he was missing his tooth. And so they had asked him to pull, and that's how they could, like, he was able to really confirm that it was Adam. But like John writes in the book how he tries every day to make it. I'm gonna like cry over it, to make it up to his friend who had to do it, because he said he still sees the head all the time, like that he is like scarred from it.
I mean, I would do that for you.
Yeah,
but it would be
horrible. Like that pressure is on you to take the pain away from others, and it's really sad.
Phew, God.
Yeah. So the very next day, on August 11th, John and Reve had actually appeared on a national television station saying that they hoped that Adam was alive. They offered a $100,000 reward, which is equivalent to $321,889 last year. So big reward for his safe return. And soon after that, so the very next day, they didn't know that was their son's head. They found out afterwards.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So they'd gone on, and then, yeah. The coroner ruled that the cause of Adam's death was asphyxiation. The state of the remains suggested that Adam had died several days before the discovery of his head. The rest of his body was never recovered. The head itself would be kept in the morgue until the case's closure in 2008.
Wow.
So they don't even get to bury him.
Did they ever?
I'm sure they did after that.
Wow.
For years, his case remained cold, but in 1983, a known criminal named Otis Toole confessed to killing the 6-year-old boy. Do you remember Otis Toole?
Fuck Otis Toole.
Yeah.
Isn't he like nasty? Are you about to talk about
it? Yeah.
Okay.
No, the story's done. He confessed, and so now we're done.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to talk about him now. Okay. That's not how this goes. God.
Shut up and talk about it.
Jeez. So Otis Toole and his partner Henry Lee Lucas are infamously known as 2 of America's most depraved serial killers who claim to have raped, killed, and cannibalized hundreds of victims in the 70s. According to Lucas, that number may have been as high as 600. But it's really, really high.
Yeah.
We'll go anyway. But Toole and Lucas, investigators later learned, were not honest men. Shockingly enough, they were serial killers that too enjoyed a good lie. So in fact, they likely confessed to far more murders than they committed, fucking A, earning them the moniker the Confession Killers. And that's what that documentary.
That's the one where the cops like fed them kind of info.
Yeah,
in
they
a
wanted
way.
to close cases.
So they just were like, bring them in. And they were like, sure, we did it. Sure, we did it.
Yeah,
Like,
and they started corroborating it together. And
Yeah.
there were a lot of them that
he was like, how'd you do it? And he'd be like, a gun. He's like, didn't you use a knife? And then Otis would be like, oh, I used a
They
knife.
also talked about the fact that like his breath was so rank.
His teeth look like they're rotting into his skull.
They were rotting out, and so like his teeth were disgusting.
Like,
And like his breath was really nasty. But anyway, the men did eventually split. They wound up in separate prisons around the same time in 1983. So Lucas in Texas and Toole was in Florida. Lucas, Toole learned, had been taking police on guided tours of their killing grounds. And so he started making confessions too. So the confession killer essentially was Otis Toole originally. He was the one yakking. And then the other guy was like, whoa.
but look at me. Watch me do this.
I was like, wait, he's talking? Oh, then I guess I'll talk too.
Yeah.
All of this just kind of feels like a big ass pile of shit.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why it pisses me off. They literally are serial killers who murdered all these people, but then they kept fucking ruining families' lives by saying they killed them and then recanting and then changing their stories.
Exactly. Because the people probably finally get closure.
They felt like they had closure, and then it was ripped away because then they would recant. So there's people who died that obviously it wasn't at the hands of these two fucking cuntwads, but it was still ruining. Just fuck them. Toole had claimed that their total number was 108.
Yeah.
Imagine.
That's still...
They killed 108 people in the 70s.
That's so fucking wild and sad and terrible.
Yes.
And awful.
All of it.
Halitosis motherfucker.
However, Toole did confess to abducting Adam Walsh from a Sears department store in Hollywood, Florida, before raping and dismembering him with the help of Lucas. But then Investigation Discovery reported that Toole learned that Lucas had already been arrested by the time Adam Walsh had disappeared, and so he changed his story. So not only does he admit to it and then say that Lucas helped, when they're like, well, Lucas was in prison, you cunt. He was like, oh, I mean.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these two cow testicles. So in 1976, Toole had met Henry Lee Lucas at a Jacksonville soup kitchen because they were homeless, I guess. Mm-hmm. And rumor has it this is whenever they started to visit Pound Town together. So they were lovers.
Oh.
Toole later claimed to have accompanied Lucas in 108 murders, sometimes committed at the behest of a cult called the Hands of Death. Now, police were like, no, that's not.
Is it a cult of them too?
Yeah,
like
pretty much. They're like, dude,
we didn't do it. We're in a cult. We didn't do it.
Yeah,
It's not us.
Yeah. Once more, though, these fuckers weren't just killers, but they were also pathological liars. In January, on January 4th, 82, Toole barricaded 65-year-old George Sonnenberg in a boarding house where he was living in Jacksonville and then set the house on fire.
What?
Yeah. He had, Sonnenberg sadly died a week later of injuries he sustained in the fire because he was trapped in a house and then the house was set on fire.
What a terrible way to go.
He confessed. Oh my God. Toole confessed to the crime and was sentenced to 20 years in prison. He signed a confession stating that he and Sonnenberg had begun a sexual relationship. And after the two had an argument, he fucking barricaded him in and set the house on fire.
Wow. You're not breaking up with me.
Ugh.
Jeez.
2 months later, right? Talk about, I'll burn down this house. Like,
I mean, I make jokes about it,
I do too.
I wouldn't
either. 2 months later, I'm glad that we covered that.
Yeah, we just have to make sure. We might have some new people.
Yeah. Heather and I would not burn a house down. That's all I want. I just wanted to take a moment.
It's on the record.
Yeah.
It's on the record.
2 months later in June, his accomplice, Henry Lee Lucas, was arrested for unlawful possession of a firearm. It was then that Lucas began boasting about the murderous rampage orchestrated by the two. At first, he had denied involvement, but later began backing up Lucas's confessions. And Lucas also backed Toole's confessions to the murder of Adam Walsh.
Oh, my God.
I know. But then this journalist, Hugh Ainsworth, and others started to investigate for the articles that had appeared in the Dallas Times-Herald. So these people were smart. They were like, fuck, and why the cops didn't do it? I'm just so mad. Because the cops didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I get it. They were like, ooh, we hit the jackpot. We're closing all these fucking loose ends, and we're like, now we can give all this peace to these families. And that's not what happened.
No.
And so then these journalists were like,
yeah,
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And so it was calculated that Lucas would have had to use his 13-year-old, that's a pretty old vehicle, Ford station wagon to cover 11,000 miles in 1 month.
Whoa.
Around 370 miles a day. That's a lot of miles. That's a lot of miles to have committed the crimes that the police were saying that he did.
Yeah.
So they're like, just the math. The math ain't mathin'.
I don't think that math is mathin'.
Yeah. He became, Lucas became wildly regarded as a compliant interviewee who was used by the police to clear up unsolved murders that he wasn't really involved in. And then they were aided by Toole giving false statements in collaboration.
Douche bags. Douche bags.
During Toole's trial for murdering George Sonnenberg, Toole claimed that he didn't light the home on fire and only signed the confession so that he would be extradited back to Jacksonville.
What?
Lie. On April 28th, 1984, a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to death. Later that year, he was found guilty of the February 1983 strangulation murder of a 19-year-old Tallahassee, Florida woman, and he got a second death sentence. On appeal, however, both sentences were later commuted to life in prison.
Ugh.
After his incarceration, he pled guilty to 4 more Jacksonville murders in 91 and received 4 more life sentences. Now that we're going to jump back to Adam's case. So Toole then said he abducted Adam Walsh alone because before he said that he had done it with Henry Lee Lucas, but once more, he was already in jail. So here's what happened. He says that he had lured the young boy with toys and candy. He had said he would take him home. So I read one thing, like that he lured him in with toys and candy. But I also read another thing that like he was saying that he was going to pick him up for his, like, to take him home. Like, I'll take you home. Don't worry about it.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
Like that he saw him distraught and was like, I'll take you home.
Yeah, don't worry about it. And then the kid started, like, obviously Adam started crying whenever he'd been in the car for too long.
Yeah.
And because you know that you're not going home when you realize how far away you were. And so he started crying, and I'm sure he was utterly fucking terrified. And he was just a sweet little thing trying to find his mom.
Yeah.
Because he was scooted right out of the mall. He said he beat him until he was unconscious. And then sadly, he raped him.
Oh, God.
He cut his head off with a machete and then drove around with the head in his car for several days because he forgot about it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I wish I was. And then he remembered it. And so he just tossed it into that canal.
What?
I don't know where the body ever went.
He never said?
Not from what I saw, no.
Yeah,
they never discovered it.
Yeah.
He probably, the way he talks so nonchalantly, and he had died from asphyxiation, and he doesn't really talk about that either.
Yeah. He seems kind of braggy on the confession tapes, though. Like, I don't know.
When you kill 108 people, like when that's...
He's so gross. They're so gross.
So disgusting looking too. One of the key pieces of evidence against him proved to be controversial. Following the killer's arrest, investigators searched his car with luminol. Of course, that's that chemical agent used to identify the presence of blood. And they found what many people believe to be the outline of Adam Walsh's face.
Oh, God.
Now, John Walsh was among the believers that this is the man who killed his son. But other experts had cast doubt on the evidence. Like, somebody basically was saying, was it really Adam, or was it equivalent to the Virgin Mary in a grilled cheese sandwich?
Well, I mean,
Valid.
I've read that stuff too, where they didn't know which one.
Yeah. But in this, I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit more as well. And this is just apparently like one of the many ways that the investigation was botched, like so many reality stars' lip jobs.
The look of pride.
The look on your face that I saw you like catch it. Like she was like, oh my.
The look of pride on your face.
It was more just, I was staring at you.
Brought me joy. I love it.
Following Adam Walsh's murder, his father, John Walsh, expressed his disappointment how the Hollywood police handled his son's case. So In 1997, he released his book, Tears of Rage.
Oh, God.
And that's the book that I was skimming through to get more information to, which is really sad. And it looks like it was written really, really well.
It's a good title.
He said that the investigation was marked by the worst of the 7 deadly sins: laziness, arrogance, and pride. Quote, I'm quoting here, "They were a tiny local police agency that had limited resources and never manned a search anywhere near this size," Walsh wrote. "We did have a gut intuition that mistakes were being made. Everything seemed so chaotic and disorganized. Among those mistakes,"
Okay.
hold your melons,
Okay.
was losing the bloody carpet from his car, from Toole's car, and then the car itself.
What?
They lost
How?
the carpet, and then they lost the car.
How do you just lose a car?
I don't fucking know,
Not
bro.
car keys.
No, which I lose daily.
You do.
And I even have a designated location in my house for them.
You do. And something on them, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But a car, that's shady. That's shady as shit.
That's real shady. Eventually, after years of hosting America's Most Wanted, John Walsh pushed to reopen his son's case.
Yeah.
His killer, after all, had never been officially named since Toole had recanted his confession and no physical evidence could link him to Adam's murder because they lost all of the shit.
Oh, my God.
Otis Toole died in prison in 96 at the age of 49, but John always believed he was Adam's murderer. Police also floated the idea that serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer may have been responsible for it because he was living in Florida at the time of Adam's abduction. I read something about that, too, where Jeffrey Dahmer was like, "I have told you who I killed, how I killed them, when I killed them, and if I ate them and what I ate of them."
That's what I was going to say.
Why would I not tell you about this boy?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
And he's too young. He was too young for Dahmer anyway. I don't feel like the youngest one, he was like 12, right?
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it was...
Not I don't know. Not
Right.
that any of it's good, but
No,
you know
right,
what I mean?
right. But he was like, I was honest about it.
Like, why would
I'm
he-
not hiding anything from you.
Yeah.
I'm literally telling you what I did. After a push from the Walshes in 2006, the case was reopened. And in 2008, the Hollywood Police Department determined that the case against Toole was strong enough to officially declare him as Adam Walsh's killer. Quoting here, Reve kept pushing me and said, "You know, John, you've solved so many crimes. You've caught over 1,000 fugitives. We need to give it one big last push. You need to do it again on America's Most Wanted," John Walsh told NBC in 2011. I said, "Reve, I know the guy. I know the guy who can help us. He's a good detective." The guy was actually Joe Matthews, who was a Miami Beach homicide detective who was the first person to see the 98 photos that were taken of Otis Toole's Cadillac. Photos that the police had apparently never even developed.
Are you serious? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
What do you mean? They just didn't do it?
They lost it. They lost the vehicle, and then they just never developed the photos from it.
That's so shady, though.
So shady.
Why?
So fucking
Ugh.
shady. Matthews was the man to notice the bloody image of Adam Walsh's face on the carpet. He goes, "Looking at it, you actually see a blood transfer from Adam's face into the carpet."
Oh, wow.
Like, without a doubt.
And they
like
lost the carpet and they lost.
Yep.
Keep going. I'm so
It
mad.
took 25 years, but finally, John and Reve Walsh could say that they knew who their son's killer was, and it was Otis Toole.
Wow.
I briefly touched on the fact that Adam Walsh's dad was John Walsh, and I said I actually talked about it in pretty great detail at the very beginning. But I really didn't. That wasn't in my notes, guys. Honestly, the main reason I wanted to talk about it, the whole case, was because of John Walsh.
Yeah.
John and Reve did everything that they could possibly do to ensure that victims and their families wouldn't have to go through the same experience as them. In 1984, John Walsh helped found the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is short NCMEC, an organization that works to counter child abuse and human trafficking. That same year, Congress passed the Missing Children's Assistance Act. According to Cairo 7, the NCMEC has helped law enforcement track down 350,000 missing children over the years.
Wow.
350,000 missing children.
That's amazing.
So the loss of Adam Walsh. John's activism on behalf of his son helped put faces on milk cartons, shopping bags, and mailbox flyers. They started the fingerprinting programs and increased security at schools and stores.
I remember the fingerprint cards when we first got them, like when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that we just had to
They just came to the school and they gave us little laminated fingerprint cards, and they gave us one, and I'm pretty sure we had a copy for like our parents to have.
Wild. It also spurred the creation of missing persons units at every large police department.
I'm glad that you told the story and you're highlighting the good, that like the silver lining that actually came out of it, because it's wild to think like that we used to not have missing persons places or fingerprints or 911.
Or that
like
or that whenever a kid went missing that we put it anywhere.
Yeah.
That we informed anyone.
Yeah. It's wild.
By the late 1990s, many malls, department stores, supermarkets, and other such retailers had adopted what is known as Code Adam.
Wow.
And that's a movement first started by Walmart stores in the southeastern United States. A Code Adam is announced when a child is missing in a store, or if a child is found by a store employee or a customer.
Wow.
If the child is lost or missing, all doors will be locked, and a store employee is posted at every exit, while a description of the child is generally broadcast over the intercom system.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Code Adam was a term has become synonymous with a missing child, and its predecessor to an Amber Alert.
Yeah.
Which serves as a system broadcast-driven community notification.
Wow. I
Never
not know.
knew about.
I didn't either.
Did not know about that. After securing a deal with Fox, Walsh had launched America's Most Wanted. He launched that.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't either.
Wow.
He did that in 1988.
What a badass dad.
Right.
Yeah.
By that time, Walsh was already well known because of the murder of his son, sadly, but all of his subsequent actions that helped missing and exploited children. America's Most Wanted was the longest running crime reality show in Fox's history, and it contributed, are you ready?
No.
To the capture of more than 1,000 fugitives.
Wow. I remember watching that as a kid.
Me too.
And being like, I wonder if I can find this. I've always been such a little true crime junkie. Like,
yeah, I watched it too.
Yeah.
Sadly, in 2012, it was canceled.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if maybe there was lack of a need for it because of internet and all that other shit.
Yeah.
Probably changed it.
They should revive that. They did Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
And that one even has some true crime elements to the new episodes now. So,
yeah. On August 15th of 2006, Walsh's hometown of Auburn, New York, named a street after him. In October of 2008, he was awarded the Operation Kids 2008 Lifetime Achievement Award for his dedication to protecting children and to raise funds for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, in which he had co-founded with his wife.
Wow.
So such sadness.
Yeah.
Such loss. To understand what then happened to your child from just a horrible series of events.
Yeah.
That a serial killer happened to be the one that saw your kid distressed after he was scooted out for playing a Atari game in Sears in the 80s.
I wonder how that security guard felt. I have to look online. I haven't seen whether they did any interviews or anything.
I don't know.
Could you
sure
imagine?
That you
Could you imagine being...
I mean, it's the same people with Gabby Petito who didn't believe what was going on there.
Yep.
And I think one of them, I really do think one of them had like a suicide attempt. Like it's too much weight.
Heavy.
It's heavy. Reve, the mom.
Those are some badass parents.
Right.
I mean,
they fought Congress in a whole bunch of ways too.
Yeah. To take a shit situation that is awful and heartbreaking to do what they did and have done and probably still are doing.
Yeah. She mentioned too in the book at one point, she was like, I just couldn't believe that our son was taken from us and then we were the ones that had to figure it out.
Yeah. It sounds like
at the end of the day, we were the ones that had to figure it out, and they did.
Yeah.
And then they saved 300 over 300, and who knows how many that'll end up being in the world.
Yeah.
Not to mention all the Congress changes that had happened because of it, and then the fact that they got 1,000 fugitives caught.
Yeah. And saved more lives because the fugitives,
Yeah.
Shit.
So that was the sad story of Adam Walsh, but the unbelievable story of John and Reve Walsh and what they did afterwards.
Yeah.
In honor of their son.
Jeez. I didn't know all that. Good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Happy 75th.
Happy 75th, man.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in for over a year and a half to hear our husky, beautiful voices as we fill your ear holes with sadness,
We pleasure your ear holes.
Hopefully
Which
some laughter.
sounded dirty.
Sure did.
Ew.
Sure did. Lots of pleasuring of the ear holes. We love you guys. Please like, rate, listen, subscribe, all the things that Heather usually says that I don't know why I said and then I stumbled.
That's okay. Yes. All of that. Retweet what she said.
All those things. We love you guys
We
so
love
much.
you. Thank you. Bye.
We love you. Bye.
Theodore, can I pet that dog?